apparently a propensity for mishap. Hello and a very warm welcome. Have you ever considered the curious, almost mystical power of a name? We bestow them upon our children with such care, hoping they'll carry a certain grace, a strength, or perhaps a touch of historical grandeur. But what if, alongside these noble aspirations, we were also unwittingly bequeathing a statistical predisposition for, well, clumsiness? It sounds rather like something out of a particularly whimsical novel, doesn't it? The notion that your given name could correlate with how often you find yourself in a spot of bother. It's a fascinating, if slightly unnerving thought. And it's not just idle speculation, you see. A rather diligent group of experts decided to delve into this very question. They were hunting for the unluckiest names in the land, the ones statistically more likely to be associated with a trip, a slip, or an unfortunate tumble. So, the question I must pose to you as you sit there, hopefully safe and sound, is a simple one. Is your name on the list? Let's find out, shall we? Prepare yourselves, for we are about to embark on a statistical safari into the wilds of nomenclature and misfortune. We begin our countdown at number 10, a name that resonates with a certain pop culture charm, Lisa. Yes, all the Lisas out there, I'm afraid the numbers suggest you might be just a tad more susceptible to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or at least a slippery patch on the pavement. The data indicates that individuals named Lisa are approximately 10% more likely to file a personal injury claim than the average person. It's not a colossal figure, but it's statistically significant enough to earn a place on our precarious podium. One can't help but think of famous Lisas, like the ever-radiant model and presenter Lisa Snowden. The statistics whisper a gentle caution in her ear. Perhaps she ought to double-check the security of her high heels, or cast a wary eye on any stray camera cables snaking across the floor. It's a peculiar thought, isn't it? The name itself has Hebrew origins meaning pledged to God. It's as if the universe enjoys a little joke at the expense of etymology. You can be pledged to a higher power, but that doesn't grant immunity from a poorly placed roller skate. So, to all the Lisas watching, we salute you. You are 10% more likely to find yourself in a pickle. We hope you take this not as a warning, but as a badge of honor. Just do be a dear and watch where you're going, won't you? Number 9. Now this is a name that has, in recent years, taken on a rather specific cultural resonance. I speak, of course, of Karen. Before it became a byword for a certain type of assertive complaint, Karen was simply a popular and perfectly lovely name of Danish origin, a form of Catherine, meaning pure. Yet here it is, sitting rather uncomfortably on our list of the unlucky. The data suggests that Karens are 12% more likely to file a claim for personal injury. One wonders if there's a connection to its more modern, mimetic meaning. Could it be that Karens are not necessarily more clumsy, but perhaps more likely to seek appropriate recompense when things go awry? If a paving stone is uneven, is a Karen more likely to not only trip over it, but to then diligently document the incident, contact the local council, and ensure that such a hazard is rectified for the good of the community? It's a theory, at least. It's a fascinating juxtaposition of meanings, the purity of its etymological roots versus the modern caricature, and now this statistical shadow of slight misfortune. It's as if the name is having a bit of an identity crisis. We must be fair. The vast majority of Karens are delightful individuals who navigate the world with grace. So, to the Karens of Britain, we see you. You are 12% more prone to a mishap. Either way, tread carefully. The world is full of things to trip over, and managers aren't always available. At number 8, we find a name of beautiful clarity and simplicity, Claire. Spelled C-L-A-R-E or indeed C-L-A-I-R, the result is the same. A name derived from the Latin claris, meaning clear or bright. And yet, ironically, it seems the path ahead for Claires might be statistically a little less clear than one might hope. They are 14% more likely to find themselves in a situation that necessitates a personal injury claim. It's a shame, really. Such a bright and luminous name associated with Saint Clare of Assisi, a figure of light and devotion. And yet, the data suggests a certain proneness to earthly stumbles. One immediately thinks of the brilliant broadcaster Claire Balding. She navigates the complexities of live television and the rugged terrain of the Olympics with such aplomb, it's hard to imagine her as being statistically at risk. Perhaps it's her love of the great outdoors, of horses and hounds and all things country. Such pursuits, noble as they are, do carry a slightly higher risk of an unscheduled meeting with the ground than, say, collecting stamps. Maybe the statistics aren't reflecting clumsiness at all, but a life lived with more vigor and a closer connection to the unpredictable beauty of nature. A Claire is not one to be cooped up indoors, and with that freedom comes the occasional trip over a tree root. One could almost picture it, a Claire, striding confidently through a field, her mind on higher things, on the clarity of the sky or the brilliance of a line of poetry, and failing to notice a cunningly placed rabbit hole. It's not a lack of awareness, but rather an abundance of focus on more important matters. So, for all the Claires, take heart. Perhaps you are simply too busy being brilliant to worry about watching your step, just in case. Arriving at number 7, we have a name that has enjoyed immense popularity for centuries. A name that feels both classic and contemporary, Emma. From Jane Austen's matchmaking heroine to the halls of Hogwarts, Emmas have left an indelible mark on our culture. But it seems they might also be leaving the occasional mark on themselves, as the data reveals they are 16% more likely to be the subject of a personal injury claim. This is rather startling, isn't it? Emma seems such a solid, dependable, and graceful name. One thinks, of course, of the supremely talented and poised Emma Watson. She has battled dark wizards, championed global causes, and navigated the treacherous waters of Hollywood with extraordinary grace. The idea that she is statistically more likely to slip on a spilt potion or trip over a red carpet seems almost absurd. And yet, the numbers are the numbers. The name Emma has Germanic roots, meaning whole or universal. There's a grand irony in that, isn't there? A name that means whole is more likely to be associated with a state of being slightly broken. Perhaps it's a case of nominative determinism's mischievous cousin. The universe hears Emma and thinks, whole, you say? Universal? Let's test that theory with a rogue banana skin. Or, to be more charitable, perhaps Emmas simply throw themselves into life with more gusto. They are not ones to sit on the sidelines. They are the protagonists of their own stories, and every good protagonist must face a few trials and tribulations. A scraped knee or twisted ankle is simply a plot point in the grand narrative of being an Emma. So, to the legions of Emmas watching this, from the Austen fans to the Potterheads, we offer this thought. Your name may place you 16% higher on the risk-o-meter, but it also places you in the company of history's most beloved heroines. Make it part of your story. We now cross a significant threshold as we arrive at number 6, for here we find the unluckiest female name on our entire list. A drumroll, if you please, for the unfortunate Joanne. According to the data, those named Joanne are a substantial 18% more likely to file a personal injury claim. This places them in a league of their own when it comes to feminine misfortune. It's a name with noble heritage, the feminine form of John, meaning God is gracious. One might think such a gracious blessing would include protection from life's little calamities, but it appears not. The data paints a picture of Joanne as being particularly susceptible to the slings and arrows of everyday physics. Whether it's a fall in a supermarket or a mishap at the gym, the name Joanne appears with unnerving regularity. We have some truly formidable Joannes in the public eye. Think of the wonderful actress Joanne Froggatt, or indeed, the literary titan J.K. Rowling, whose first name is Joanne. One imagines her navigating the magical world she created with perfect ease, yet the statistics suggest she might need to be extra careful on a wet, windy day in Edinburgh. Perhaps there's a creative element at play. Could it be that the minds of Joannes are so often soaring in the realms of imagination, drama, and storytelling that they pay less heed to the physical world? When you're busy plotting the downfall of a dark lord or inhabiting the emotional turmoil of a complex character, who has time to notice the uneven curbstone? It's a plausible and rather romantic explanation for this statistical anomaly. So, to all the Joannes, we raise a metaphorical glass. You are the reigning queens of this particular list. You are 18% more likely to find yourself in a scrape. We hope you wear this crown not with fear, but with a wry smile. You are in the company of great storytellers and performers, and perhaps your extra tumbles are just research for your next great work. Just please do mind the gap. Kicking off our top 5, and the first of an all-male lineup from here on in, is the name Chris. A solid, friendly, everyman sort of name. It's short for Christopher or Christian, and it carries a weight of history and reliability. And yet, it seems that reliability doesn't quite extend to physical coordination. The data shows that a Chris is 12% more likely to suffer an accident, placing him squarely in the middle of our unlucky list. It's a surprise, isn't it? One thinks of Chris Martin, the frontman of Coldplay, a man who commands stadium-sized audiences with his energy. He leaps about the stage, a whirlwind of musical passion. And yet, the statistics would suggest that for every successful leap, there's a slightly higher than average chance of an unscheduled landing in the drum kit. Perhaps the roadies have to lay extra grippy tape wherever he's due to perform. The name Christopher means Christ-bearer, a name of great responsibility and strength, famously associated with the patron saint of travelers. Oh, the irony! The patron saint of travelers meant to protect one on a journey, and yet his namesake is statistically more likely to trip on the first step out of the door. It's a cosmic joke of the highest order. The universe, it seems, has a very dry sense of humor. Perhaps it's the sheer ubiquity of the name. For decades, Chris was an incredibly popular choice for baby boys. More Chrissies simply means more opportunities for a Chris to have an accident. It's a matter of volume. Or maybe there's a certain carefree, easygoing nature associated with the name that leads to a slight lack of attention to one's immediate surroundings. A don't worry, be happy attitude that occasionally results in a don't worry. It's just a sprain outcome. So, to all the Crises, Christophers, and Christians out there, we offer this friendly advice. While your namesake may be the patron saint of travelers, it might be wise to pack a small first aid kit for your journeys, even if it's just to the corner shop. You're 12% more likely to need it. Keep making the world a brighter place with your music and your good nature, but for goodness sake, watch your step. At number 4, we find a name of regal and presidential standing, Andrew, a name of Greek origin, Andreas, meaning manly and brave. It's a name that commands respect, a name associated with disciples and dukes. However, it appears that manliness and bravery do not grant immunity from the laws of gravity. Andrews are, the data suggests, a rather significant 14% more likely to file a personal injury claim. When one hears the name Andrew in a British context, it's hard not to think of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. Now, one wouldn't wish to speculate on his personal coordination, but the statistics do cast a rather amusing shadow. One imagines palace aides discreetly placing non-slip mats in the ducal bathrooms and ensuring all corridors are brightly lit and free of stray corgis. It's a name that carries an air of authority. And Andrew is often perceived as a leader, a decision-maker. Perhaps their minds are so occupied with matters of state, finance, or strategy that they simply don't have the mental bandwidth to allocate to such trivialities as not walking into doors. It's the curse of the powerful mind. The more you have to think about, the less you think about the ground 2 feet in front of you. This is a recurring theme, isn't it? That these unlucky names are not born by fools, but by people whose attention is often focused on a higher plane. The Andrew, in his manly bravery, is not afraid of a little risk. He strides forward, confident in his purpose, and if a rogue filing cabinet happens to be in his path, well, that's a problem for the filing cabinet. The mission is what matters, not the minor inconvenience of a bruised shin. So to the Andrews of the world, we say, lead on. Be manly, be brave, be the leaders you were named to be. But perhaps delegate the task of checking for hazards to a subordinate. Your country, or your company, needs your mind intact and your limbs unbroken. You're 14% more likely to have a mishap, so a little caution is not unmanly. It's just good strategy. And so we reach the bronze medal position. At number 3, with a wince of self-recognition, I must announce the name Stephen, or Stephen. The spelling matters not to the statistics, it seems. Yes, I'm afraid my own tribe is on the list. We Stevens are 16% more likely to come a cropper. I must say, having navigated life for a few years now, I can't say I'm entirely surprised. The name Stephen comes from the Greek Stephanos, meaning crown or wreath. It's the name of the first Christian martyr, a man who certainly had a rather unlucky day at the office. It seems a faint echo of that misfortune has trickled down through the centuries. We are crowned not just with a name of historical significance, but with a slight statistical propensity for calamity. One must mention oneself in this context. It feels rather narcissistic, but the script demands it. Have I had my share of clumsy moments? Well, I once managed to shut my hand in a car door. And there was an unfortunate incident with a particularly steep staircase in a Cambridge college. Perhaps there is something to it after all. My mind, so often flitting between obscure facts and linguistic curiosities, may not always be fully engaged with the physical act of locomotion. It's a humbling thought. For all the knowledge one might try to accumulate, none of it can prevent you from slipping on a patch of ice. It's a great leveler. It doesn't matter if you're Saint Stephen the martyr or Stephen the actor and writer. A banana skin is a banana skin, and it respects no reputation. We are all, in the end, subject to the whims of physics. So, to my fellow Stevens and Stevens, I say this. Our name may mean crown, but we must be careful it doesn't become a crown of bandages. Let us embrace our 16% increased risk with the intellectual curiosity our name suggests. Let us analyze our stumbles, document our trips, and perhaps write a witty treatise on the subject. It seems the only dignified thing to do. In the runner-up spot, a whisker away from the top of our unlucky list, we find the perennially popular and stoic name James, a classic biblical name, a name of kings and spies, of literary giants and television heartthrobs, and yet, for all its suave connotations, it is a name that is a whopping 18% more likely to be associated with a personal injury claim. This is a serious level of statistical misfortune. One immediately thinks of actors like James Norton, who so often plays brooding, intense characters, men who live on the edge. It seems that this on-screen risk-taking might have a strange statistical echo in the real lives of all people named James. Or perhaps it's the other way around. Perhaps the name itself carries a certain restless energy that draws its bearers towards more adventurous and therefore more hazardous situations. Then, of course, there is the most famous James of all, James Bond, a man whose entire career is one long personal injury claim waiting to happen. He's been shot at, blown up, chased across rooftops, and has dangled from helicopters. While most Jameses don't live a life quite that extreme, maybe there's a tiny, subconscious part of them that thinks, what would Bond do? And the answer is usually something that is not recommended by health and safety officials. The name is the English version of the Hebrew name Jacob, which has a rather telling meaning, supplanter or one who follows. Perhaps that's the key. A James is always following a path, chasing a goal, and in the process, they might just trip over what's right in front of them. They are so focused on supplanting their rivals or reaching their destination that they fail to notice the wet paint sign on the park bench. So to all the Jameses, Jimmies, and Jims, we offer our commiserations and our respect. You are the silver medalists in the Unluckiness Olympics. You are 18% more likely to take a tumble, a figure you share with the unluckiest of women, Joanne. Whether you're channeling your inner spy or just trying to get to work on time, please be careful out there. The world is not a movie set, and the paramedics are not part of the stunt team. And so we have arrived at the summit, the peak of Mount Unlucky, the #1 most accident-prone name in all of Great Britain. The name that is statistically most likely to be found on a personal injury claim form is David. Yes, David. A name of immense historical and cultural weight, meaning beloved in Hebrew. And yet, its bearers are a staggering 20% more likely to have an accident than the average person. It's almost unbelievable. David, the name of the giant-slaying shepherd boy, the poet king of Israel, a name synonymous with courage and triumph against the odds. And yet, in the modern world, it seems the Goliaths that Davids are battling are more likely to be rogue paving stones, faulty ladders, and dangerously spilt cups of tea. It's a rather less heroic but no less painful struggle. We have so many beloved Davids in our national life. Sir David Attenborough, a man who has navigated the most treacherous jungles and deepest oceans on Earth, seemingly without a scratch. And David Beckham, a man whose entire career depended on his physical grace and perfect coordination. The statistics would suggest that both of them ought to wrap themselves in cotton wool. Perhaps Sir David's calm narration is a coping mechanism, and Beck's free kicks were so accurate because he was aiming away from things he might trip over. What could possibly be the reason for this? Is it, like Chris, simply a case of volume? David has been an enormously popular name for generations. More Davids, more accidents. It's a simple, if unsatisfying, explanation. Or is there something deeper? A beloved child, perhaps slightly spoiled, who grows up with a sense of invincibility? A nothing bad can happen to me attitude that flies in the face of reality? Whatever the cause, the correlation is undeniable. David is the undisputed king of the clumsy, the champion of the calamitous. So, to every David watching this, we bestow upon you this dubious crown. You are 20% more likely to be at the center of a mishap. You are the giant of the accident statistics. Please, for the love of all that is holy, be careful. The nation's beloved Davids are a precious resource, and we don't want to lose any of you to a poorly timed encounter with a rake. And there we have it, a whirlwind tour through the 10 unluckiest names in Britain. From David and James at the top of the male list, to Joanne and Emma leading the female contingent, it's been a fascinating, if slightly worrying journey into the strange world where names and numbers collide. Now, if your name did appear on that list, please, I implore you, do not panic. Don't rush out to legally change your name to something safer sounding like Prudence or Safety Vest. This is, after all, a matter of statistics, not destiny. Your name does not doom you to a life of perpetual mishap. It simply means you belong to a group that shows up a little more frequently in the accident logs. Think of it less as a curse and more as a gentle statistical nudge to be a little extra careful on staircases, a bit more vigilant on wet kitchen floors, and perhaps to think twice before trying to assemble flat-pack furniture after a glass of wine. Ultimately, a name is just a name. It's your actions, your awareness, and your choices that truly determine your path through life. These lists are a bit of fun, a curious insight into the patterns that surround us, but they are not a prophecy. So I'm incredibly curious to hear from you. Did your name make the list? Do you know a David who is famously clumsy, or a Joanne who seems to attract minor disasters? Let us know in the comments below. Share your stories and let's all agree to look where we're going. Thank you for watching.